everybody, this is another Hot Wheels collector video, and today we have the 2024 P case to take a look at. This is a reaction and showcase video, and I cannot wait to show you guys what features in this case. There are some great models here. We've got new castings, we've got really desirable models, and we've got some really great recolors. This is a great case which honestly I can't wait to dive straight into. But before we go any further, I must shout out Ministry of Diecast for the following footage. Without him, this video would not be possible at all, so make sure to check out his channel as well as the original video. Both of those will be linked in the description of this video. He makes some great content, so please do check his channel out and his content if you have not already. But yeah, without further ado, let's jump straight into this reaction and showcase video. Firstly, let's take a look at everything new for this case. So the first new car for this case is the 17 Ford GT. This thing does receive top tamper work, and this thing has been painted in white, as you can see there. And this thing is also rolling on the Phil Riemann style wheels, which have been done completely in black. I think this is a very good recolor of this casting, and I can't wait to add it to my collection. Next up, we have the Batman Arkham Knight Batmobile. I believe this thing does receive top tamper work, and I believe this thing does have a painted blue body to it, which is a very nice blue colour, by the way. I like that blue colour a lot. It pops on this thing, and this thing is rolling on the 6-spoke off-road style wheels, which have been done in black with a chrome blue lip to them. I personally don't collect Batman cars, so this one will not be coming into my collection. Next up, we have the Birthday Burner. This was a brand new fantasy casting for earlier this year, and this is the second colour of this thing to come out so far. This thing does have a pink plastic body to it and does receive side tamper work, and this thing is also rolling on the 5-spoke wheels, which have been moulded out of pink plastic, and these wheels also have been painted in white. I don't think this thing looks too bad at all. Next up, we do have a brand new casting for this case. This is the Aston Martin DB4 GT High Speed Edition. This thing does receive top and side tamper work. It does have a raw metal finish to it. It does not seem to have any paint on its body. And this thing is rolling on the 5-spoke wheels, which have been moulded in white plastic. And these wheels do receive black white walls to them, so black version of white walls on them, and also black lips to them. I think this thing is very cool. Next up, we do have the King Cruiser. This thing does receive side and top tamper work. It has been painted in red, and this thing is rolling on the 5-spoke wheels, which have been painted in chrome gold. I think this is a very solid recolor of this casting. I actually don't think it looks too bad at all. I quite like the tamper work here too. I think it works with the overall color scheme of this thing, and overall, I think it's a pretty cool model. Next up, we have another brand new casting for this case. This is the Honda S800 Racing. This thing does receive side and top tamper work. It has been painted in yellow, and this thing is rolling on the retro 5-slot wheels, which have been painted in chrome. I think this is a great new casting. I think the Hot Wheels team have done a great job here, and overall, I really do like this thing. Next up, we have the Mercedes-Benz Unimog 1300L. This thing does receive side and top tamper work. It has been painted in a very luminous orange colour, and this thing is rolling on the 6-spoke off-road style wheels, which have been moulded in brown plastic to resemble mud, and do receive white lips to them as well. I think this is a very solid recolor of this casting. I quite like it personally. Next up, we have the 94 Toyota Supra Tunes. This is the second version of this thing to come out so far, and this thing is also from Fast and Furious, as you can probably tell. What a great recolor of this thing is. I think it looks great. This thing does receive side and top tamper work. It has been painted in a quite dark orange colour, and this thing is rolling on the 5-spoke muscle style wheels, which have been painted in chrome. What a great release of this casting. I will definitely be picking this thing up for my collection. I love this thing. Next up, we have the Mailed It. This thing has been painted in white and does receive side and top tampo work, and this thing is rolling on mismatched wheels. So in the rear it is rolling on the steely wheels, and in the front it is rolling on the aerodisc wheels. I believe all the wheels on this car have been done completely in black, and overall I quite like this thing. I don't think it looks too bad at all. Next up, we have the Silverado EV RST. This thing has been painted in black and does receive side and front tampo work, and this thing is also rolling on the 5-spoke Y design wheels, which have been painted in chrome. This was a brand new casting for earlier this year, and I think this version is actually nicer than the original version. I think this thing looks very, very solid in black. Next up, we have the 95 Mazda RX-7. I can see this one being very popular. It looks very, very good. This thing does receive side and rear tampo work. It has been painted in blue, and this thing is rolling on the 10-spoke wheels, which have been painted completely in white. I really like this thing personally. I hope I can add this to my collection. I hope the scalpers and the collectors don't take them all before I can find one, because yeah, I really do want to add this one to my collection. I think it looks great. Next up, we have the McLaren P1 in this lovely red colour. I love the red on this thing. I think it suits this car fantastically. This thing does receive front and rear tampo work, and this thing is rolling on the 10-spoke Y design wheels, which have been done completely in black. What a great version of this casting here we do have. This thing just looks so great. I can't wait to pick this thing up. It's definitely going to be making its way into my collection. Next up, we have the Gordon Murray Automotive T.50s. This is a brand new casting for this case, and I think this thing looks great. This thing does receive side and top tampo work. It has been painted in a very bright orange colour, and this thing does appear to be rolling on the 5-spoke muscle style wheels, which have been done completely in black. I really like the look of this thing. I can't wait to add this to my collection. What a great new casting. Next up, we have the regular version of the Super Treasure Hunt for this case. This is the Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo. This thing has been painted in red and does receive side and also top tampo work, and this thing is rolling on mismatched wheels. So in the rear it is rolling on the 10-spoke wheels, and in the front it is rolling on the aerodisc wheels. All the wheels on this car have been done completely in black, and I think this is a very good release of this casting. Next up, we have another brand new casting for this case. This is the Tesla Model S Plaid, or Plaid. I'm pretty sure it's Plaid, that's how you pronounce it. This thing does receive front and rear tampo work. It has been painted in this bluish purple colour. Very interesting colour on this thing. And this thing is rolling on the 5-spoke Y design wheels, which have been painted in grey. What a great new casting. Again, I can't wait to pick this thing up. Next up, we have the Toyota Supra. I can see this thing being very popular. This thing does receive side and top tampo work. It has been painted in a very dark green colour, and this thing is rolling on the 5-spoke Phil Reelman style wheels, which have been painted in this chrome bronzy type colour. I think this is a pretty solid release of this casting, and yeah, I can see this thing being very popular amongst collectors, if I'm totally honest. Next up, we have the Desert Drifter. This thing does receive side tampo work, as you can see here, and also top tampo work, speaking of it. And this thing has been created by a mixture of metal and also plastic. On the top, we've got white painted metal, and in the middle layer of this car, we do have some see-through yellow plastic. And this thing is rolling on the 5-spoke wheels, which have been painted in chrome. This one's not really for me. And next up, we have the Total Disposal. I actually quite like this casting, and I think this is a pretty solid recolor. This thing does receive side tampo work. It has been created by a mixture of yellow and orange plastic, and it does have a metal base to it, because it does have a plastic body. And this thing is rolling on the steely wheels, which have been done in black with a white lip to them. As I've said previously, I quite like this casting, and I think this is a very solid recolor. Next up, we have the Speed Bump. This is a very cool and unique casting. As you can see, it's meant to be kind of like a smashed up, banged up car. This thing does receive side and top tamper work. It has been painted in blue, and this thing is rolling on mismatched wheels. So in the front, it is rolling on the 5-spoke wheels, which have been painted in black and have been molded out of white plastic. And in the rear, we do have the steely wheels, which have been done in black with a chrome red lip to them. Next up, we have the Rolling Solid. This one's not really for me at all, if I'm totally honest. This thing does receive top tamper work, as you can see here. It has been created primarily by a mixture of blue and black plastic, and does appear to have a metal base to it, which has been painted in lime green. And this thing is rolling on the 6-spoke Reusada wheels, which have been painted in grey. I will be leaving this one for somebody else, as I don't like it. Next up, we have the 70 Dodge Charger. This is a very solid recolor of this car in my opinion. Of course, this is the tuned version of the 70 Dodge Charger, and I really do like it. This thing has been painted in this greyish silver colour, and does receive side and top tamper work, and this thing is also rolling on the 5-spoke wheels, which have been done in black with a chrome lip to them. I really do like this thing and can't wait to add it to my collection. Next up, we have the 2020 Koenigsegg Jesko. I'm not a massive fan of this recolor of this casting. I much prefer the earlier purple version from earlier this year. I'm not a massive fan of the colour orange, but yeah, I will run through this for you. This thing has been painted in orange. It does receive top and rear tamper work, and this thing is rolling on the 5-spoke muscle wheels, which have been done completely in black. Next up, we have the Tread Shredder. This thing does receive side tamper work, as you can see here. It has been done in black, and this thing is rolling on the off-road style motorcycle wheels, which have been moulded in brown plastic and have been painted in chrome. This one's not really for me, if I'm totally honest, as I don't collect motorbikes from Hot Wheels, but I do quite like the colour scheme on this thing, and I do like the tamper work here. Next up, we have the Moustache. This thing does receive side tamper work and has been painted in this greyish silver colour, and this thing is rolling on the steely wheels, which have been done in black with a chrome red lip to them, as you can see there. This one's not really for me. I do prefer the original version of this casting, which was done in red, but I don't think this is a bad recolor. It's just not really for me. Next up, we have the Dodge Viper SRT 10 ACR. This thing does receive side and top tamper work. It has been painted in this greyish silver colour, which I personally really do like on this car. And this thing is rolling on the Phil Reelman style wheels, which have been done in black with a chrome lip to them. I really like this recolor of this casting. I think it looks absolutely awesome. I can't wait to pick this thing up for my own collection. Next up, we have the treasure hunt for this case, and it is a great treasure hunt in my opinion. This is the 59 Chevy Impala. This thing does receive side and top tamper work. It has been painted in matte black, and this thing is rolling on the skull wheels, which have been painted in black, and these wheels have been moulded out of white plastic. I really do like this thing. It reminds me of the treasure hunt version of I believe it was a Chevy Impala from a couple years ago in 2022. They have the same type of livery and the same wheels, and I think both of them look great. I wasn't ever able to find the Impala treasure hunt, so I hope I am able to find this thing, as I personally really like this thing. Next up, we have the Hot Wheels Roll Cage. This thing does receive side tamper work and top tamper work, and this thing has been painted in a very interesting green colour, and this thing is rolling on the 6-spoke off-road wheels, which have been moulded in this brown plastic to resemble mud, and these wheels do receive a chrome yellow or chrome gold lip to them. This one's not really for me. And next up, we have the 69 Mercury Cougar Eliminator. I think this is a very solid recolor of this casting. This thing does receive side and top tamper work. It has been painted in this very nice green colour, which I like a lot, and this thing is rolling on the 5-spoke muscle style wheels, which have been painted in chrome. What a great recolor of this casting. I loved the earlier blue version of this thing, and this one is absolutely great as well. Next up, we have the Rink Racer. This thing was a new casting for earlier this year, and I'm not a massive fan of this thing. This thing does receive side tamper work. It has been painted in green, and this thing is rolling on the 6-spoke Rewisoda style wheels, which have been done completely in black. And the final new car for this case is the LB Silhouette Works GTR. Of course, this is the R35 GTR, and I love this thing. What a great way to end off the new stuff for this case. This thing has been painted in grey and does receive side and front tamper work, and this thing is rolling on the 5-spoke Japanese style wheels, which have been painted in grey. I think this is a great release of this casting. I can't wait to pick this thing up. I overall think this thing looks absolutely beautiful. What a stunner. Next, let's take a look at everything returning from the previous case to this case. This gives you a second chance to find all of the following cars. So the first returning car to this case is the Heavy Hitcher. If I'm totally honest, this one's not really for me, but it still does look pretty cool. Next up, we have the HW 4-Track. This thing has a very cool colour scheme, and that is one reason why I do like this thing. I also really do like the casting, a pretty cool model. Next up, we have the Hoverstorm. This one's not really for me, if I'm totally honest. It is a very unique casting, though. Next up, we have the Porsche 904 Carrera GTS. This recolor is not too bad, but I do prefer the original version from earlier this year. Next up, we have the 63 Studebaker Champ. This is a great casting, and this is a great recolor of this casting. I think it looks very, very good. Next up, we have the Donut Drifter. This one's not really for me at all, if I'm totally honest. Next up, we have the Lamborghini Huracan Strato. This is a great brand new casting from the previous case. This thing just looks very, very good. I can't wait to add this to my collection. Next up, we have the Mazda RX-3. This was a brand new casting earlier this year, and this is a very solid recolor, which I cannot wait to add to my collection. What a great, great model. Next up, we have the 64 Chevy Chevelle SS. I think this is a very good recolor of this casting. Next up, we have the 2016 Ford GT Race. This is a very unique and cool casting. I love this thing. I think this is a great colour of this thing, and overall, I can't wait to get this thing. Next up, we have the Porsche 911 Carrera. I do prefer the original version from earlier this year, but I think this is a pretty solid recolor. Next up, we have a brand new casting from the previous case. This is the small block. This thing looks very, very cool. I actually quite like this thing. Looks very, very interesting. Next up, we have the custom 72 Chevy Love. I think this is a very solid recolor of this casting. Next up, we have the BMW M3 Wagon. A very solid recolor of this casting. This was a brand new casting earlier this year. I do prefer the original version, but this one's not bad at all. Next up, we have the Super Treasure Hunt from the previous case. Of course, this is the regular version of the Super Treasure Hunt from the previous case. This is the Solero GT, and I don't think it looks bad at all. Next up, we have the 87 Audi Quattro. What a great recolor of this thing. This was a brand new casting for earlier this year, and this is just a great, great recolor. I cannot wait to pick this thing up. Next up, we have the Nissan Skyline GTR R33 in the Godzilla livery. This thing will be very, very popular and high in demand. This thing looks very, very good though. I like it a lot personally. Next up, we have the 67 Chevy C10. This one's not really for me, if I'm totally honest. I'm not a big fan of the wheel choice on this thing or the sample work. Next up, we have the HW 450F. This one's not really for me, as I don't collect Hot Wheels motorbikes. Next up, we have the Porsche 911 Rally. This was a brand new casting for the previous case, and I think the Hot Wheels team have done a great job here. The casting is fantastic, and this specific version is great as well. I can't wait to pick that up. And the final car returning from the previous case is this, the Proper Chopper. This one will not be making its way into my collection, but I will say the blue colour on this thing is very nice. But there you go, that is it for the 2024 P case. I think this is a great case. There's only one more case left from this year, and there's some really good stuff coming up in that case as well. I can't wait to show you guys that, but that is something for another day. This is a great case, some great new castings here, some great recolors here, and overall I am very impressed with this case. I think the Hot Wheels team have done a great job here. But that does lead me onto my ranking for this case. So what are my third, second and first place cars from this case? So in third place for me is going to be the Honda S800 Racing. I think this is a great new casting. I can't wait to pick this thing up, and overall I think it's just a great model. Yeah, I can't wait to add it to my collection. In second place for me is going to be the LB Silhouette GT Works R35. I think this is a great recolor of this casting. I love the grey on this thing. I love the tampo work, and overall I just think this thing is great. Another one which I'll definitely be adding to my collection. And finally, that does lead me onto my first place car for this case. In first place for me is of course going to be the Gordon Murray Automotive T.50s. This thing is a great new casting for this case. I love the colour on this thing, I love the tampo work, I love the casting, I love everything about it. I can't wait to add this to my collection. I can see this thing being very popular amongst collectors, and it definitely will deserve its hype. This thing is an absolutely fantastic model. But do you agree with my ranking? Let me know in the comments section down below. I love hearing your thoughts and your favourite cars from this case. I will be reading all of your comments, so please do leave some comments in the comments section down below. But that does lead me onto my overall score out of 10 for this case. So what am I going to be giving this mix of cars out of 10? From me, this case is going to be receiving a totally deserved 9.5 out of 10. This is an absolutely great case from Hot Wheels. As I've previously mentioned, there's some great castings here, some new castings, some old castings, some great recolors. Overall, I'm so happy with this case. I'm sure you will not be disappointed. I genuinely think there is something for everybody here. We've got Japanese cars, we've got American cars, we've got all sorts. Honestly, I genuinely think everybody will be happy with at least something in this case. But yeah, that's really it for this video. So if you guys did enjoy, make sure to like. If you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. Remember to let me know in the comments section down below what you guys think of this case. And yeah, that's really it for this video. So thank you for watching all the way to the end, and I really hope you guys did enjoy this video. See you guys in the next one. Bye bye everyone, take care.